Hey, what's up everybody? Raymond here, and today we're talking about the Westside Scout Reverse Hyper by Rogue Fitness. I'm going to talk about what I think about this thing, if I like it, do I recommend it, kind of how it compares to the do-it-yourself options or the, a regular Reverse Hyper full standalone unit that you can buy. I picked this up Black Friday. I'll talk about the pricing, and I've been using this for about 6 weeks now, so I got a pretty good idea. I've been using it very often over the last 6 weeks, so I'll talk about what I think about it. But basically, this is a full-size Reverse Hyper. You can see it's got the bar that you stand on or pull your legs back with, and a nice mount for your ankles. So let's kind of start with the whole thing and talk about this as a Reverse Hyper. So to start out with, pad on top, let's kind of start with the pad. Pad is nice and firm, feels really good. If you're brand new to doing a Reverse Hyper, the first time you get on this, it's probably going to be really uncomfortable in your abdominal region. That's not because of the pad. That's just because you're not used to doing a Reverse Hyper. Every unit I've ever sat on Reverse Hyper, usually the first time, it's a little uncomfortable because I'm just not adjusted to it. But after 2 or 3 times of doing it, you feel really good. So the pad is nice and solid, nice good material here, feels good. So everything about that feels really great. Handles, the handles stick out. I actually feel like the handles, I can use them a little longer. And I'm not a super big guy, I'm 5'11". I do feel like I almost wish the handles were a little longer. They do make handle, like inside of here, Rogue sells another like smaller handle. I guess if you're kind of short, I'm 5'11", and I do find these a little long. My wife is 5'2", and I feel like she could probably use these handles, or might potentially need to buy the inside ones. I kind of wish Rogue would just include the inside ones, since there are holes for, so I do think that's kind of like, come on Rogue, just include it. As far as the unit, so when you first buy it, it does come in a box, so you have to put it together a little bit. It probably took me 15 minutes to put together. Really, all that you need to do is just attach these legs at the bottom here. So it's super easy to get together. The unit itself looks nice. It's got a nice like stand-up little thing to kind of get on the Reverse Hyper here. One of the things I do wish is this little thing to stand on is actually only on one side of it. So I think that's kind of weird. Like it should just be on both, especially if you're like in a place where like, I don't know, maybe it's more comfortable for you to only get on one side. So I do wish that. As far as the swinging arm goes, swinging arm is great. It does come with clamps. The only problem, one odd thing about the swinging arm is that to put weight on, these are actually pretty short. So they are only 5 inches. And there's a little rubber piece which makes it a little under 5, like 4 3/4 inches to put weight on. So we'll kind of talk about that as I go through and talk about the functionality of the unit, but that's the size of each of these. Back strap ankle brace is really nice, thick material, solid. I feel like it's gonna last. Super thick. I don't think this thing could ever, I mean, will hold up well in commercial spaces. It's nice and thick, feels good on your ankles. All right, so that's like the construction of the machine, but let's talk about like the stability, putting on weight, how it works as a Reverse Hyper, and then I'll show you how it folds up and talk about like the sizing and spacing of it, because that's kind of like why you would buy this thing anyway. But like finish, you see like Westside barbell, it's got Westside barbell, it like looks really great. As far as the size, the thing is big. Like unfolded, this thing does take up a lot of space. So when you're buying this, if you're planning on folding it up, that's great. We'll talk about that space. But like unfolded, plan for this thing to basically fit on a stall mat. Like it's big. It weighs 85 pounds, so it's actually not too heavy and uncomfortable, but you can see like the footprint here, and I'll just measure it really quick for you just to confirm Rogue's measurements that they put online. I mean, we're at 54 inches in length. So, it's a big, 54 by 20, and, measure the height. It's tall. It's about 43 inches high. So it's it's pretty big when you have it out. So be prepared for that. Be sure that when you're in your garage, you have a place to put it where you're actually, because you also need to be able to kick back. So you need to be able to prepare that, you know, you got a nice sized chunk area to actually use this thing. But I feel like that's pretty easy because it does fold up super nice. I'll show you how to fold it and show you what it looks like folded and show you some of like these knobs and stuff when it's all together. As far as, let's get to use of the unit, then let's talk about folding and pricing. As far as using the unit feels very stable. Now, I came from a do-it-yourself reverse hyper, which was basically me just laying on a board and using some ankle straps. How much of an upgrade is this unit? It's not much, to be honest. I feel like the do-it-yourself ones are pretty good. And I don't feel like this is a huge upgrade, but it is nicer and it is an upgrade, and it saves me setup time from my do-it-yourself option, which is why I got this. It is a big saver in setup time for myself. As far as how does this compare to regular standalone units, I've used the regular Rogue reverse hyper. I think that this is just as good and just as stable. So that's like me saying the do-it-yourself one versus the most expensive options are pretty much all very similar. And I think that they're all going to be, you know, feel just as good for your back and, you know, your butt and all the places that the reverse hyper works. So I don't think, like, as far as like stability, this unit feels just as good as the regular Rogue units. However, one of the limitations of this device is the weight. Now, I find that kind of interesting. So for myself, I put on about 50 pounds onto this thing, which is 225 pounds. I do the reverse hyper very slow and controlled, but some people put on a lot of weight. And, you know, the guys at Westside always recommended you put on about like, what, 40 to 50% of what you can squat on this thing. So the max recommended weight on this handle right here is 175 pounds. If you're putting 175 pounds to about 200 pounds on this thing, when you actually do the reverse hyper, what you'll find is that these front legs actually come up a little bit. I'm trying to like emulate that. But what you'll find is that the front legs will move. And that's kind of problematic with this unit for some people. So my personal opinion is that reverse hypers are made for lightweight and very slow and controlled movements. But if you're squatting, let's say 450 plus, and you're gonna put that 50% onto this, this unit might not be for you. You're gonna have some problems with the legs moving and need to find some solutions to keep the legs down. Like some guys put sandbags on, or some guys altogether will just say the Scout's not for them because of that. So if you're a guy if you're a big guy that's squatting a lot of weight and you're gonna do heavy reverse hypers, just get another unit. This one's not for you. Or plan to figure out how you're going to keep the front legs down. So that's kind of my advice there. For myself personally, as I said, I'm only putting 50 pounds on this thing. Why? Because I do slow and controlled reverse hypers. I am never going to put, this is a exercise that I do for, you know, to help me with a back problem. So I will not ever really put a lot of weight on this thing. I just know that's not why I bought it, so I love it for what it is. Okay, so that's like the use of the unit. One other thing I do want to mention about the unit, for some reason, now me personally, when I put bumper plates onto this, I find that my ankles, like the front of my shins, actually hit the bumper plates. So one of the things that I do is I put 25, like iron 25s on, and I find that it works a lot better. I think that's going to depend on your body type and how you do the reverse hyper. Like if your legs are going to actually hit. Let me just kind of show you here by getting in. So like when I'm doing the reverse hyper, if I have a regular bumper plate, it's out pretty far here. I find that it just kind of smacks my shins, but if I use like a 25 iron, I find that it does not. So I use my 25 irons on here. I put 2 of them on, one on each side. One of the things I did test is if like you put the weight on just one side and not the other, is it like imbalanced at all? It doesn't feel imbalanced at all, so you can do that. That's just fine. But that's my thoughts about the machine itself. Let's talk about the the two big reasons you really buy this one are the cost, because it is cheaper than most reverse hypers, and the other is the foldability. So as far as cost goes, then let me show you folding this thing up. Rogue sells this thing for $475 plus shipping. You're paying like $5 something for this to get it to your house. I think it's a little pricey, to be honest with you. I got this unit over Black Friday. It was $415, and I got free shipping. Well, 5 for 5 shipping, so but basically free shipping on this unit. So when this dropped to $415 and I was going to get free shipping, I all of a sudden saw an opportunity and thought, you know what, this is worth it. This is how much I think this thing should cost, is like $415 with tax shipped to you. I think this is a great buy. At the $500 some, like another 100, I think we're getting into the do-it-yourself option. Makes more sense. At least for me personally, if that's an option for you. But I did think on the sale, I think this was a great buy. I'm really glad I picked it up. So let's talk about it folded up and what it stores like and stuff. So folded up, it's actually really simple. There's a little pin underneath here you can use to like stop it from folding and stuff, but really easy. So the way that you fold this thing up, you actually use the lever arms. First of all, you unhitch these little safety pins right here on the sides. Super easy to do. And then you take the lever arms and you are gonna fold it up. Like I'm gonna lift it, and I'm gonna just fold it down. I'm gonna use these arms the whole time. Gonna fold it up. We can see that it folds really nice. I mean, it folds great. It actually stands up by itself, which is super cool. So you could stand it up by yourself. However, I probably would make sure it's against a wall or something, because it's not super stable because it's so thin. But let me tell you the space it takes up. In general, this is from the widest point to the next widest point. Looks like about 12 to 13 inches. Overall, like the footprint of it is like 6 to 8 inches. Like most of the spacing, there's just a few points that are like, you know, this little thing sticking out here makes it like 12. So it does not take up hardly any space. I can stick this against my wall and still use, like, put stuff against the wall, like on top, like behind it. I actually do that. I store my GHD right behind this thing on the wall. So it's like nothing. So for those of you with garage gyms looking for a reverse hyper, this might be your only option, because it is so small and folds up so nicely. It really does. Like a regular GHD machine takes up a stall mat, 4x6 stall mat. This thing stored away takes up nothing. We're talking like a few 10 inches on your floor. Doesn't take up anything, so it's super easy to use. As far as like folding it up and unfolding it every time you use it, that's what I'm doing. So like those of us in garage gyms, like that's what you're expected to do. You're gonna unfold and fold this every time you use it. That's what I'm doing. It takes 1 second, literally. I can move it. As I said, it weighs 80 pounds, but it carries super easy. You can see here, I can kind of grip the sides of the thing, and gripping the sides makes it feel really good. And I can, it does have this little thing locked in here to keep it from moving, but I'm just not gonna lock it in right now. Super easy to move around and carry. And then to unfold it, I simply take the arms. You gotta use the arms, like the handles, to unfold it. I'm just gonna I'm gonna be a little careful here because there's an elliptical behind me. And I didn't time that right, but that's okay. Just gotta kind of get out of here and push it back a little bit. But you just use the handles, and it works really well. I mean, I really, really, really like this thing. And then I gotta lock it here again. I gotta make sure it's in the right part. Lock it on both sides. Check it. The little pin, you can the pin's over here. I can put it in or not, so I can hide this pin if I'd like to. Just a locking pin, a little safety feature. Yeah, that's the reverse hyper. The one thing that I did notice about this is they have made multiple iterations of this. When I purchased this on my receipt, it showed that this is actually the third iteration. I'm not sure if that was just a like billing thing or not, because I can only notice difference from V1 to V2, which is like this little locking pin here. I can't notice any differences from V2 to V3 if there really was one. So maybe that just doesn't mean anything at all. So, should you buy this thing? I think that so first of all, as far as like, should you even have a reverse hyper? Some people really hate the reverse hyper. It's like one of those things, they're kind of like lever arms. Like you either love it or hate it. So before you buy this, I would know that you actually like the reverse hyper. I would do like a do-it-yourself option. See if you like the movement and it feels good. So you don't want to waste your money. So having said that, if you know that you like reverse hypers, I think that this is a cool unit. I think it stores really well. I think it's the perfect garage gym unit because it stores away. Like it doesn't take up space, and space is so vital. However, if you're, as I said, if you're a big guy and you're squatting like 500 pounds and you're planning on putting like 200 some pounds on this thing, it's gonna move. So you're gonna need to either put like sandbags or something on the feet or figure something out, or just, this isn't the unit for you. You just need a bigger one. As far as the pricing, I've already talked about that. Like I really think that this is kind of pricey. Like I feel like a lot of these machines are just overpriced for what they are. Like they're like as much as an X3 squat rack, and that's just crazy to me in some ways. But I think when this was on sale for $415 and free shipping, super deal. Like I think this is a great buy. Would I buy it for $475 plus the shipping, knowing what I know and having it now? Yeah, I mean, a regular reverse hyper is more, and I love the reverse hyper personally. I use it a couple times a week, so it is worth it for myself. So kind of ask yourself those questions, whether this is worth it for you. Otherwise, if you have this machine, let me know what you think about it, y'all. Later.